Well, now there's a devoted Captain America fan.
Oh, well, this is now finally turned into the weirdest intro ever. Welcome, everyone, to the second show that we are putting on at the D23 Expo in Anaheim, California. We are the Diz Unplugged, and let's roll it. Hey everyone, well that was a weird start, one of our weirdest ever. I am hosting this thing. I'm Craig Williams from the Orlando team, and sitting right next to me is Jenny Lynn Knopp.
Hey everybody.
Also from the Orlando team, and then on my other right is Michael Bowling from the Disneyland team.
Hey there, hi there, ho there.
So, wow, it is now officially, the end of the first day of D23. It's been a long day. I think we're all tired and exhausted and, just in a complete weird state of mind right now. I know I am, but to say that this day wasn't memorable at all would be a complete understatement. There's been a lot of fun. We've met a lot of great people that came through our booth here, because we are recording this live from the Diz Unplugged and Dreams Unlimited Travel booth in the exhibit floor.
Everyone's been fantastic. Everyone that stopped by, y'all have been amazing.
They really have. No, I've loved everyone that I've met, and I mean that. I'm not just saying it because I feel like I'm obligated to say it, but I also feel a little bit obligated to say it. But no, wow. If you watched earlier, you know that we talked about the Legends event. We talked about the Muppets, and then we talked a little bit with Charles Phoenix, which was awesome to get an opportunity to really speak with him. And he's so eccentric and funny, and I wish I could have seen more of his panel. But now we are on to actually more pressing matters, and that's the big thing that happened today, the biggest event, even bigger than Legends, and that was the animation, the Walt Disney Studios animation and Pixar animation panel, hosted by no one other than John Lasseter, the god of Disney right now. And Michael and I were lucky enough to be there for that one. JL wasn't, but, well, we just figured throw her in the mix, and maybe she'll have a question or two. But I'm going to throw it over to you, Michael, and do you want to get us started with a little bit of an overview of everything that happened?
Yeah, like Craig said, this was the Pixar and Disney Animation Studios presentation. It started out with a sizzle reel of current and upcoming films from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm Studios. And then out walked Alan Horn, the chairman of the Walt Disney Studios. And he was, again, talked about how wonderful it is to see all of those studios under the Disney banner, and it's all thanks to Bob Iger. And he said that the D23 Expo audience was going to be the first to see many things in the afternoon, and they definitely delivered on that one.
What did you see?
Well, what Alan said was animation is what built the company, and it is stronger than ever, and he definitely showed us that is true. He then introduced John Lasseter. He talked about how John Lasseter lives and breathes animation. He wears it on his sleeve, literally, if you know about his Hawaiian shirts. Apparently, John has over 500 Hawaiian shirts in his collection. And John always guarantees that the films will have heart because John has a big heart. And so then the cool thing was, there's a D23 John Lasseter shirt that's for sale out here, and John gave a few away. He had from the California Angels, he had one of those t-shirt cannons.
It was absolutely ridiculous. Like, he was just going wild. I mean, it wasn't the Angel girls were out there shooting them off. It was actually John Lasseter holding this cannon.
Like a bazooka.
And we had one actually came really close to us, but I
could
just
see
a little
Craig
bit off.
was tense and ready to pounce like a cat to get one if it came toward
I'm sure
us.
everyone was going crazy
They
when
were.
that
They
happened.
absolutely were. And I, of course, was convinced he was going to give one to all 7,600 people in the audience.
He's no Oprah, though, huh?
So, no. So, anyway, so he started out by introducing the Walt Disney Animation Studio projects. And again, he talked about how that this is built on a legacy started by Walt Disney 92 years ago. And that Pixar was started by pioneers that pushed the boundaries of animation. So, John Lasseter says he gets very emotional when he thinks about how he and the other Disney animators are connected to Walt Disney through his legacy of animation. And he said this is a studio that really created animation and made it into an art form. And he said the studio's back because of its people. So he started out with Zootopia.
Oh, yeah.
And that's on coming out March 14th, 2016.
March 4th.
Oh, March 4th, thank you. Yeah, which I have written right down here. John Lasseter says that he loves talking animal movies. And his favorite is Wind in the Willows, with the animals that walk like humans and dress like humans. So he wanted to make a modern film about talking animals. And so then he brought out the director, Brian Howard, the director, Richard Moore, and producer, Clark Spencer.
Yeah. They went on to start discussing the film. Chiefly, they really got into the locations that actually take place in the film. So from a lot of the concept art and poster works, it all looks very industrial, very city. Like, it almost reminds you of that god-awful movie, The Wild, that came out, that Disney, they distributed it. They didn't have any hand in making it. But it kind of almost felt like it was New York City. However, we found out that there was 4 main locations in there. The Sahara Sands,
Right?
the
Sahara Square.
the Tundra Town, the Rainforest District, and so I'm going all on memory. Michael can take notes. I just stare and drool for the most part. And then the final one was, I will never forget this one, Bunny Burrow. That's just too fun to say. But yeah, all the characters are inhabiting these areas, but as Michael said, they're all, they're standing, but they also took the time and effort to actually make sure that the animation of the characters was kind of realistic to how the animals are actually portrayed on screen. So the one example they used was a camel. A camel wouldn't just walk upright and be straight and go the distance. It would kind of hunch and actually walk like I do most of the time.
They sort of galumphed along.
We're going to start calling you Camel Craig.
Because they looked at how four-legged animals studied their structure and how they moved, and then imagined how would they walk as two-legged creatures.
Well, let's back it up a minute. You guys talked about the locations of the film, but you didn't quite cover what is the plot? What's the storyline?
Okay.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, I will get started on the storyline while Michael gets to there in his notes. But essentially, it is about a bunny, one of the bunnies from Bunny Burrow. It is, gosh, why am I?
Judy Hopps.
Judy Hopps. Yes, I remembered Nick Wilde. I remembered that with no problem. But
Think of Bunny Hop.
yes, Judy Hopps, played by Once Upon a Time's Jennifer Goodwin,
Oh, wow. Okay.
who was actually on hand to be a part of there, and it was her dream. And she believed in Zootopia. If you really have the passion and energy, you can do anything. If you aspire to be it, you can do it. And she wanted to be a bunny cop, the best bunny cop there was. But instead, she was actually a parking meter lady, bunny, I guess you would say, and.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
But she was an optimist, so she was determined to be the very best meter maid there was.
Yes.
And they showed a clip of her hopping all over the place, tagging all the cars as the parking meters expired.
Yeah, and so then eventually along the line, she meets Nick Wilde, who's voiced by Jason Bateman, someone they've been pushing really heavily for the movie, and he is a Fox character. And although she originally believes that he is a good fox and not the stereotype fox of sly, sneaky, well, it turns out he actually is. In a really funny clip that they showed, I won't get into it because it's one of the best parts that they showed us, but even that's hard to say because every clip they showed us was actually really hilarious from this movie. It should be funny, but No, it ends up turning into a mystery case where they have to team up together to solve it and help Judy Hopps move up in the world.
Right.
Oh,
So
okay.
they work on this case, and together they learn to trust each other despite their differences. And that's pretty much the moral of the story.
So this is looking like another home run for Pixar. And
I think it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for Disney, not Pixar.
Disney. Sorry.
Yeah, this is Disney Studios.
Yeah, no, but it absolutely, I think it will be. It was so hilarious. The final clip that they showed us, I actually started crying from laughing. But that in a handshell, that's not a word. I am so tired. That's essentially Zootopia. And then from there, the presentation got really sad and kind of stayed sad throughout it, in my opinion. They moved on to the next movie, of course, which is gigantic. Michael?
Yeah, John Lasseter was talking about how when Disney does a film on a fairy tale, it ends up becoming the definitive story of the fairy tale. And he realized there was no definitive story of the tale Jack and the Beanstalk. So he decided they were going to do that.
Which I disagree.
story.
I think Mickey and the Beanstalk is the definitive tale on that, but that's just me.
You should have
Times are
stood up
changing,
and
I
said,
guess.
I protest.
And throw my cell phone bag down.
Now, when you say it got sad, you mean sad as in bad or sad as in emotionally?
All the clips they showed after that were
Depressing.
so incredibly moving and touching.
Yeah.
So
like,
very emotional.
oh yeah.
Okay, sad as in emotional.
Yes, sorry.
So then he brought out the director, Nathan Greno, and producer Dorothy McKim, and they showed a video development piece of sort of concept art mixed in with some of the completed animation of Jack and the Beanstalk. And they decided they had to think about where were they going to set this film. And they thought about Spain during the Age of Discovery. As all the great explorers were launched from Spain to discover the new worlds, they thought how Jack climbed up the beanstalk in order to discover a whole new world. So it's set in Spain. Jack is a Spanish young man, and he climbs up the beanstalk, but instead of finding just one giant, he finds a whole world of giants. And he first meets an 11-year-old girl who is 60 feet tall. And the 11-year-old girl thinks Jack is a toy. And she's based actually on a real person.
Yeah, in the movie, I believe, from my memory now, her character name is Emel.
Or Ima.
Ima. Spanish. I'm not Spanish. I don't know how to speak it. But no, they based it on an actual girl that whenever they were in Spain doing the development for it and really studying the culture and all of that, there was this one girl who started chasing their car and then was antagonizing them, and they got out and they essentially did a model shoot, not on purpose, just they were taking pictures and really getting into it. And then after they got back and they were going through all their pictures, they realized that they could essentially, they had enough that they could start building a character out of all the mannerisms that they saw in those pictures. So, and then it just kept going on from there, and then it's getting close to that sad clip.
Yes. Well, they develop a friendship, and the film really has deep emotion. And then they brought out the musical group that's responsible for Frozen. The couple that's responsible for Frozen. They talked about the song, and then that was it. Looking forward to Jack and the Beanstalk. They didn't mention when it was being released.
No,
did they?
didn't mention whenever it was being released. I don't think at all. But no, yeah, Kristen Anderson-Lopez and Bobby Lopez came out and sang one of the songs that's actually going to be from the movie.
Do you think we got another "Let It Go" on the
Oh,
rise
this
here?
was a very silly, fun song. It wasn't like that at all. It should be a really good movie, though. I think they're trying to really get that new hit like they had before. But yeah, actually, no, there wasn't a sad clip attached with it.
wasn't sure what you were
They just
talking
did the
about.
song. No, I'm all messed up. The Pixar stuff is where it got really heavy for me, intensely, mostly because of the ending. But
And is that your
you gotta
segue?
wait to get through.
Oh.
No, because we have one more Disney movie to get through. The big one that they wanted to tout, and had a very special guest on hand, which the audience basically knew who it was going to be. But the movie, of course, was Moana.
Okay, do tell.
Well, Moana, they brought out the directors. The directors themselves are really celebrities. It's John Musker and Ron Clements. We know them as famous for Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, and then they tried to blend modern song with Polynesian music, and then they talked about the all the musicians that contributed to the score. I cannot pronounce any of their names.
Oh yeah, no, me neither. But the music will.
Well, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. This movie will be almost more about the music than anything else, in my opinion.
Now, this takes place in the South Pacific several thousand years ago. It's based on an old folk tale in the Polynesian area. Many of the greatest voyagers or explorers really were from the South Pacific. And then that was true for about 2,000 years, and then everything stopped. There were no more voyages or anything. And then it started up again about 3,000 years later, a lot of exploration from the Polynesian islands. And so they started to think about, well, what happened? Why did all the exploration from Polynesia stop? So they developed the story of Moana. And she is a princess who works to return the sense of voyaging and discovery to her people. And her grandmother tells her the story of the demigod Maui. And they showed some drawings of Maui. He has these big and burly and buff, and he has all these tattoos on himself that animate and tell stories. He has this magic, huge fish hook that he uses, and he's also a shapeshifter. And so they talk about how they needed a big voice for this person, a big, powerful voice, and then out walks Dwayne Johnson.
Oh my goodness.
The Rock.
Did everyone go insane?
Everybody went crazy for him.
And my God, I mean, of course, he got his start really wrestling, and since then he's developed into such a big icon, even, I mean, beyond the wrestling world. And
absolutely. He's a movie personality now.
What an entertainer. Mm-hmm. He got out there and he took control of that stage.
And he was having so much fun.
Oh, yeah. No, and he
has incredible mic skills.
Well, apparently, whenever he was getting into the whole show business thing, one of the things he even admitted is that he always wanted to be a part of Disney in some way, shape, or form, but essentially an animated film.
Right.
Okay.
And it makes sense. He grew up in South Florida, and he definitely played football in South Florida,
Yep.
so I'm guessing he had a lot of time around Disney in his youth. And
this is
now,
not his first Disney film. He's been in a number of Disney films, but is this his first animated?
Yes,
yes,
his first
it is.
animated.
Well, I know he was in the Game Plan, but was that
Tooth
Touchstone?
Fairy.
Were those Touchstone or were those actually Disney?
That I'm not sure about.
Yeah. But either way, now he's a part of the Walt Disney Animation family, and he could not be happier about it. Mm-hmm. So, and then, he went into a little bit more on the character of Maui, and they showed a really funny reel of what the character Maui is about, and he's definitely going for that comedic performance here. It's gonna be insane. But even beyond him, one of the coolest aspects that they got into was the fact that not just the characters, it's not just going to be some of the animals walking around in Moana and Maui, but even nature, specifically the ocean, is also going to be a very integral part of it. And of course that would be the Pacific Ocean in that period.
Yeah, they had a beautiful clip because it's, again, Moana wants to be a voyager, but her father wants everybody to stay safely within the reef. But her grandmother's telling her all these stories of voyagers, so her grandmother passes away because it's a Disney film, somebody has to die. And so she takes a boat and sails beyond the reef to the mythical island.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our operating day has ended. Please exit the halls at this time. Thank you. Have a magical evening.
Oh, we have a new panelist.
But our operating day has not ended. We're just continuing here. Anyway, so she sails off to the mythical island of Tofetidi. But they talked about how the Pacific Ocean is also a character, and they showed this beautiful clip of when Moana was a little child, and she's playing on the beach, and she sees a large conch shell, and as she goes out to try to get it, the ocean interacts with her because the ocean is trying to discover and learn about Moana as she discovers the ocean. It is such a beautiful and touching scene.
I just got chills thinking about it again.
And,
No, it's
and then it flashes forward to where Moana is standing on the beach now as a young woman holding that conch shell, looking out at the ocean, and you just know it's because she's dreaming about sailing beyond the reef.
yeah.
Incredible.
And Moana, then after that they did a live performance of one of the songs that will be in the film, and that kind of rounded out the entire Walt Disney Studios aspect of it, and then it got into Pixar as something that's becoming more and more high up on people's list of what to see here. And so after another sizzle reel that kind of went over the history of it, John Lasseter came out and started talking about Inside Out, which was kind of bizarre considering it already came out, and it's been a big hit this summer. But then he brought out Peak Doctor and Jonas Rivera. Jonas Rivera, who then in turn brought out Josh Scully, who was one of the writers on Inside Out, to announce that they are going to have a new short that will be coming out with the Blu-ray edition of Inside Out this fall, and the short's called Riley's First Date ? And we won't go into the plot at all about it, but it is so funny.
Right.
So funny.
They had the world premiere of it at D23.
Yeah, and it's
any parent of a young teen or tween, they call them, is just going to find this hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
Kids will love it, too.
Yeah.
It was perfect. But let's actually get into the real meat and potatoes on what happened at the Pixar panel. They went in progressive order for the most part. Well, yeah, for everything. And the first thing that they jumped into was The Good Dinosaur.
Yeah. The Good Dinosaur. This is coming out on Thanksgiving Day, November 25th, 2015. Those of you who were here or listened to us 2 years ago would remember you talked about this film. How long does it take to make one of these things? Well, this was a troubled production, and so it has gone through with a new director, new story. When they would start talking about in all of these the settings and the scenes and how they went to locations in order to study locations for their animation. They then were showing these scenes of these beautiful leaves and forests and the water on the leaves, and I thought this was photography. This is computer animation to a level we have not seen before. This looks real. And this is something new. This is a new level of animation that they have achieved with this film that they are very, very proud of.
Oh, and they should be. It is stunning. I'm still not entirely a fan of the fact that they place such cartoonish looking characters in such a realistic world. But at the same time, it's what we then ended up hearing and seeing kind of turned my head around on it. 360 or 180, I guess. 360 would be going right back to what I thought before. Oh, I shouldn't use expressions when I don't know what they mean. But the plot line has been kind of out for a while in a sense that we know that there's a young dinosaur, Arlo, and he essentially gets lost one day. We know how and why he ends up happening.
Because somebody dies, of course.
Yeah,
it's a Disney film.
Yeah, that was also another trend during the entire panel, is that someone's going to die a lot. And it's always a different family member.
It all goes back to Bambi.
Exactly. And so Arlo finds himself lost. And then eventually he meets up with Scout, the little human that is essentially the dog character of the film, because Arlo's like the boy. And together they end up, Arlo's trying to get his way home with Scout going right along with him. And, eventually they grow with each other along the way, because Arlo's a very shy and timid character, and Scout is essentially a dog. I mean, he's literally a dog. All the personalities, they showed us the different screen tests of him doing different type of dog characteristics. it's something. It's something.
Yeah, and now you're wondering, now wait a minute, dinosaurs and mammals were not at the same time. This still uses the same premise, and the film opens with the premise: what would happen if the giant meteor that struck the Earth was deflected and passed by the Earth, so that the dinosaurs did not go to extinct, but the mammals still rose alongside the dinosaurs. So there are a number of mammalian characters alongside the dinosaur characters in this film. The director Peter Sohn, he really emphasized how he tried to communicate the storytelling through the facial expressions, and he related it back to his family. His parents were from Korea. They had a Korean grocery store, and it was him and his little brother, and they would go to the movies, and all their play was around movies. But once a week, if there was any money left over after his parents paid the bills, his mother would take him, Peter, to an American film, an English film. The problem is Peter loved it. Mother did not, because the mother didn't speak English. So she would just sort of sit there, and when people would be laughing, she had no idea what it was, and Peter would try to translate, and she still didn't get the humor. But the films that Peter did not need to translate for her were Disney films, like Dumbo, when Dumbo's mother's caged and she's caressing little Dumbo as he's outside. She said because all the storytelling was in the facial expressions of the characters. So that's what he tried to do with The Good Dinosaur, was have all the storytelling in the expressions of the character, and he did a magnificent job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In the one clip they showed where Arlo and Scout finally connect, it's really powerful information. Great side acting from Sam Elliott, and then Anna Paquin, yeah, all of them as
there's three cowboy
Rex.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
It's perfect. I think Good Dinosaur is actually going to be something that everyone should check out whenever it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the next one they talked about right after that?
Oh, this was hilarious. John Lasseter came out and he said, now at Pixar, the one question we keep getting over and over again is, will there be a sequel to Finding Nemo? And he says, and we're always getting them from one person. And then they showed a couple dozen clips from the Ellen show where she is constantly bringing up, why isn't there a sequel to Finding Nemo? Or saying there are these Twilight movies because they made a whole lot of money. They've made 3 of them. Finding Nemo that made this. She would have all the statistics up there, how much it made, and there's no, Finding Nemo. She said, "Oh, I was watching the Super Bowl. You know that football game you only watch once. What do they call that when you watch Super? Oh, Finding Nemo.
Oh yeah.
And, it was hilarious." So then they brought out the director, Andrew Stanton, and co-director, Angus MacLean. And John Lasseter and Andrew Stanton had said that they would never, ever do a sequel to Finding Nemo unless they could find a really good story, because they felt they'd pretty much wrapped it up. So they were in a story meeting one day, and suddenly it just sort of clicked. They started to get an idea for a story, and Andrew Stanton went to John Lasseter and said, I think this could work. John said, that sounds good. Go ahead and start, write it up
a little bit
and
more.
So he wrote up a treatment for it, and he said, John said, great, go with it. And so they then ran with it, and they're making it, and it takes place 6 months after the first film. And Dory is now living comfortably on the reef. She goes to school, and, with Nemo. And through a series of nobody dies, through a series of incidents, Dory's memory of where she's from is suddenly jogged back into her consciousness. And she suddenly is compelled to get to them. And unfortunately, where she remembers where she's from is in Northern California. And they're in Australia. And so there's the whole adventure of Dory, she tells Marlin she has to get there, and can you get me there? And Marlin says, no, but I know a guy. And then that sets them off on their great adventure.
It does. And then celebrities that took the stage for this one, of course, Ellen. was there, and she came out, and then we found out that Ed O'Neill of Modern Family and even all the way back to Married with Children, he's going to be voicing kind of like an angry octopus character.
Hank the Octopus.
Hank the Octopus. And also from Modern Family, Ty Burrell is also going to be part of the cast as a beluga whale who thinks they have a head injury because of the shape of the beluga head. And then rounding out the talent that was there was also Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and she is playing a tiger shark, or a whale shark that thinks they're a whale and not a shark. And all these animals are at the rehabilitation center, so it's a great new cast of characters.
It's the Marine Life Institute, but those of you who have been to Monterey, it's the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Looks exactly like it, inside and out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be great. And that kind of led into a special Toy Story ending where they obviously had to bring up that they're making Toy Story 4, which will be a love story. All the Toy Story movies are completely different, directed by John Lasseter, of course, and the writers is Rashida Jones of The Office and Parks and Recreation fame, along with Will McCormick. And there was a nice little gag about Woody that they did in there that was pretty funny. But it's a love story about Woody and the gang trying to find Bo Peep, because she was completely missing in Toy Story 3. And this led to the big musical number of the night. And John Lasseter said that this was a very emotional story, from a very personal story, because his wife Nancy inspired it. So,
and there was a film before this too.
Was there?
Coco.
Oh yeah, Coco, the Day of the Dead film.
Right, Dia de los Muertos, and I know I'm saying it wrong. It's a 3-day celebration in Mexico, celebrating the dead, and they went on several trips to Mexico to see how this is celebrated. So the main character is Miguel. He is a 12-year-old boy in a very big family, and as they're getting ready to celebrate the Day of the Dead, he sort of sets off some events that uncover a generations-old family mystery.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. No, it looked like a beautiful film. I know there was a lot of controversy about Book of the Dead and Day of the Dead, or the new Coco movie coming out around the same time, but they're going to be completely different. Good. But back to the Toy Story one, Randy Newman came out and played You've Got a Friend with Me on piano to round out the end of the night, and that was the end of the animation panel. And
then the Green Army men rappelled down on the stage from the ceiling, and then they did a big dance number.
Yep, and that was the entire animation panel, and I know, JL, you experienced something, Tom experienced something, Rhino did too.
But this was the main event.
This was the main event, and we have to wrap it up and get going because we have a lot to do. So we're actually going to talk about some of the highlights tomorrow on the 1 o'clock show. And thank you, everyone, for paying attention to our 2 feeds that we put out today live. I hope you enjoyed everything that happened, and we'll see you tomorrow. Keep watching us on Twitter for more updates, and as well as wdwinfo.com/D23/. That's where all our live updates are going, including text, pictures, videos. And don't miss the Avatar video that we have coming out soon. That should be up by the time everyone wakes up on the East Coast. But again, everyone, thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow.